All right, get ready because we're diving into a big question today, one that's got everyone talking. Can science actually explain everything?
It's where things get interesting, where what we can observe bumps up against those ultimate mysteries.
Right, like, can a microscope really tell us the meaning of life? We're using excerpts from Texto Colado and some notes on Kant today. And fair warning, Kant kind of gets stuck in your head.
He does have that effect. Let's start with that Texto Colado piece. It
Me-
compares scientists to geologists, and it's fascinating.
I like where this is going. Scientists always digging for those layers of knowledge, kind of like geologists.
Exactly. Every discovery builds on what came before, refining, expanding, creating a more complete picture over time. It's not about tossing out the old stuff, but building a bigger picture.
So less aha moments, more of a constant journey towards the truth. But then the text throws a curveball. Science is not an illusion. An illusion would be to suppose that what science cannot give us is possible to achieve elsewhere. Okay, challenge accepted. What's that all about?
It makes you think about the limits of science, right?
Mhm.
What it can really tell us. Science is great for what we can observe, measure, but those big questions, like the meaning of life, is there a God? What is morality even? You can't exactly put those under a microscope.
Trying to measure happiness with a ruler, you might see the outward signs, but
Exactly. And that's where someone like Kant comes in. He saw science as one important path to knowledge, but not the only one.
all right, so Kant. The notes mention practical reason, and I'll be honest, sounds a bit intimidating.
It's simpler than it sounds. Think of it like your internal compass for morality. Not how the world is, that's theoretical reason, but how we should act. Knowing gravity exists versus knowing you shouldn't push someone off a building because of it.
So what is versus what should be, but how's that connected to science not explaining everything?
Well, Kant thought that for this practical reason, this moral compass, to work, some things had to be true, even if you couldn't prove them scientifically. We're talking big concepts: God, the soul living forever, free will. He called them postulates of practical reason.
Hold on, so even if I'm not religious, Kant would say morality needs the idea of God to make sense. That's a lot to unpack.
That's the heart of it. And it's often missed in the whole science versus religion debate. Kant wasn't saying science is wrong, just that it has limits. Morality, purpose, those things might need different tools to really understand.
So less about science disproving God, more like they're playing on different fields entirely. So it's like science gives us the parts list, but Kant's asking, what are we even building here? What's the point of it all?
Great way to put it. And just like a recipe needs the right ingredients, Kant thought morality needs these big ideas: God, immortality, free will.
Walk me through it. Why those things specifically? Why do you think they were so crucial?
Well, take free will, for example. If we're just robots, basically everything predetermined, can you really say our choices are our own? Does morality even matter in that scenario?
Whoa. Yeah, it's like if you're programmed to do something, can you be blamed for doing it?
Right. And for Kant, the whole idea of justice, of right and wrong, it depends on free will. We make choices and they have consequences.
Okay, I see how that ties in. What about the soul part? Immortality, where does that fit?
Think about it this way. If there's no ultimate judgment, no consequence beyond this life, does being good even matter as much? Kant would say it wouldn't have the same weight. It's the idea that our actions echo into eternity that gives them meaning.
That old question, if a tree falls and nobody's around, does it make a sound? Kant's saying our actions need that echo, that lasting impact for morality to really work.
You got it. He's not saying this is the only way to see it, but these postulates, as he called them, they give morality a foundation. And remember that geologist analogy. It's like science is digging into the physical world, while Kant, through philosophy, is going deeper into the moral layer.
Digging into meaning, purpose, the things that make us human, I get it. But does this mean we have to keep science and philosophy separate? Like two different boxes entirely?
That's where it gets interesting. Kant wouldn't see it as separate, more like two sides of the same coin. We need both to understand just how complex existence really is.
Not science versus philosophy, but science and de-philosophy, each showing us different parts of the truth.
Exactly. Knowledge isn't one size fits all. Different tools for different tasks, and sometimes the biggest insights come from combining what we learn from both.
So where do we go from here? How do we actually use this? Saying be open-minded is easy, but the world feels very either this or that a lot of the time?
That's the real challenge, isn't it? I think it starts with admitting that we don't have it all figured out. We all have biases, we like what's familiar, but embracing both sides, the and, that's where things get exciting.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more about this both and idea. What does it look like in practice?
It means holding two ideas in your head, even if they seem contradictory, and not forcing one to be right or wrong. Seeing that science can be true, while still asking deeper questions that science might not have the answers to. Appreciating a sunset without needing a physics lesson on wavelengths.
Right. You don't need to know the science behind something to be moved by it, to find meaning in it.
Exactly. And knowing the science doesn't cheapen that feeling either. It can even make it stronger.
It's like knowing how a magic trick works, but still being amazed by the skill it takes.
Perfect example. Embrace the mystery. Because learning isn't about getting rid of mystery. It's about asking better questions.
So we're ditching either or for this big, kind of scary both and way of seeing things. Could be a way more interesting way to look at the world, though, right?
Definitely. It changes how we define knowledge. We're so used to things needing to be measured, proven. But what about stuff like intuition or art? Even spiritual experiences? Where do those fit in?
It's like saying, hey, maybe there are other ways of knowing things, of getting to the truth. But if science isn't the only answer, how do we avoid just believing whatever we want? That's a slippery slope.
That's where critical thinking comes in. Not just accepting whatever you hear, but really thinking for yourself. Questioning things, looking at the evidence, and yeah, questioning what you already believe too.
Not abandoning logic altogether, but realizing it might be a small piece of a much bigger, more complicated puzzle. And we might not even have all the pieces yet.
Exactly. And that's the exciting part. Not knowing is an opportunity, a chance to explore more, see what's out there.
Like standing at the edge of, I don't know, a vast wilderness or something. Maybe a little scary, but also, wow, so much possibility. This whole deep dive has really got me thinking differently. This feels huge-y, like suddenly the world's way bigger than I thought it was. Any parting wisdom for our listeners as they process all this? What should they take away?
Don't be afraid of the big questions, even the ones that don't have easy answers. Lean into the mystery of it all. Learning isn't about reaching the finish line. It's about the journey.
Love that. Stay curious, stay open-minded, and never lose that sense of wonder. So to everyone listening, if you bump into a question that science can't seem to crack, don't worry, that's part of the fun. Embrace the mystery, try that both and way of thinking. You might be surprised by what you find. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you on the next Deep